We are live. Hey, everybody. I'm getting some feedback. Getting somebody's feedback. Okay. Anyway, hey, we got the full contingency here today. We got Dustin Slade. Hey, Dustin. And
Howdy, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, my man. And we got Catherine. Catherine, how are you?
I'm good, Tom. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. And Arizona Lowe, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. Happy 2015.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great year this year. So we're going to have some fun. Well, today we're talking a little bit about targeting, diagnosis, market profiles of your customer. We're going to talk a little bit about how to build rapport, how to work some things into the sales presentation and things like that. So, you know, one of the things that you want to do is the better you understand your customer, the more you can motivate them, the easier it is to sell to them. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So hope everybody's going to have fun, and we do have comment tracker running today. So if y'all make comments, we can pull it up and give you a shout out. So feel free to do that. And there's somebody. Hey, Rain. How are you? We give Rain a shout out. Okay. Well, let me grab what we're going to talk about here, and unless anybody has any questions, we'll get started. So hang on one second. Okay. So basically, I've got 10 customer profile questions. So if you think about these questions when you're thinking about your customers, this will help you get into their mindset. And the first question you want to ask yourself is kind of the pain question, is what keeps them up at night? What keeps the indigestion boiling up their esophagus, eyes open and just staring at the ceiling? So what is their pain point? So does anybody have any stories they want to tell about customer pain points, or have any comments about that, or any questions? 1, 2, 3, 4.
One thing that is cool that you can do is, if you're looking at somebody and you go out and you check out their blog or you check out their stuff, you can see maybe you can help them with some cool plugins or something that can spruce up their blog that you know, and that's a pretty easy way to hit them in their pain spot by checking out their blog.
Okay, cool deal. And then the second thing that you want to think about is, when you're thinking about your customer, what are they afraid of? You know, everybody's got some worries, got some fears day to day. Depending on who your customer is, you know, you should know what particular things they are afraid of, what they worry about. And then another thing to ask yourself, and this is always a good one, is what are they angry about? And secondarily, who are they angry at? Because a lot of times what you can do is, you know, you can get everybody marching together to do something, and that's when you're throwing stones at you know, everybody's friends of the you know, who have common enemies. So, and there's plenty of common enemies out there, so you can grab some people like that if you know what they're angry about and who they're angry at, so you can put your content toward that. And then another question that you want to ask is, what are their top 3 daily frustrations? You know, are they married? Do they have young kids? How old are the kids? How many kids do they have? What's their, you know, what kind of income do they have? You know, what magazines do they read? What do they get frustrated with in their daily life? And if you'll just write all those down, and you can end up targeting you know, that'll help you with targeting that. And then the other thing that you can think about, number 5, is what trends are occurring and will occur in their business or in their lives. So, I mean, you know, one of the things that's going on in the economy, it's not going that well. One of the good things is prices of gas is going down, but that causes some other problems in the economy too. So there's always things going on in the economy. There's always things going on in people's lives. And typically your customer is going to be similar to you too. So you can just think about that in relationship to your own life too. And then number 6, go ahead. If somebody's got something they want to say.
Well, I was just going to say that all the questions I've heard thus far are negative based, and I think we need to remember that when we're answering this question, what we're trying to do is how to bring the positivity into their lives.
Well, what you want to do is, I mean, you want to stir things up for them too. So, I mean, you want to hit the pain points, and then and you want to get them frustrated, and then you want to show them the solution to their problem. But you've got to tell them a little bit of, you know, they've got to you got to identify with their problems, and you got to salt their wounds a little bit, you know, before that you can offer them a solution. So, and then here's number 6 is, what do they secretly, ardently desire the most? And that gets into your positive kind of stuff. Okay, so. And then number 7 is, there a built-in bias to the way that they make decisions. Example would be, you know, engineers are exceptionally analytical. And then number 8, do they have their own language? So, you know, let's see, I don't think we've got anybody here that's got young kids, that moms with young kids, but they've got their own language. But number 9 is, who else is selling something similar to the products that they have now, and how are they selling that? And then number 10, who else has tried selling them something similar, and how has that failed?
We have a question.
Sure. Can you read it?
Yeah. Is it necessary to pick out their pain points as opposed to inspiring them, Tom? And this is from Rain.
Yeah, I mean, Rain, what people are looking for solutions to their problems. Okay? I mean, you know, people buy on impulse, and there's all kinds of reasons that people buy, but if you're looking to sell something, you basically want to hit their pain point and to agitate that pain point so that they actually feel the pain. And at that point, once they get to feeling that pain, if you've got something that solves that pain for them, and you can demonstrate how that solves the pain for them and how easy it is to implement, then they will buy it. But that is one of the critical things. That's, if you talk to any copywriter, one of the things that they talk about doing is agitating the pain, pouring salt on the wound. So I hope that helps a little bit. You got any feedback on that?
You're doing that so that you can point them to the solution that just seems so obvious. You find that pain so that when you can show them the solution, it's just like a no-brainer. Oh, well, maybe I should do this because this solves all of those problems.
Correct. That's exactly right. Does that, Rain, do you have any, does that make sense, or? Okay.
I think what is going on with the questioning here is that people are sort of hearing what you're saying, but they're not necessarily aware of the way you're saying it, because we're all, I agree that, like in my situation, if you talk to people that say, okay, I'm a psychic, and the way people are taught to find frauds that are psychics, they say, if someone scares you as a psychic, they're a fraud. So don't go to psychics who scare you. But that's a psychic who is a cliffhanger, who wants you to, go into a session and they say, okay, for $1,000, oops, your time's up. You got to come back next week, and come back next week, and I'll spend another $1,000, and come back next week and spend another $1,000. That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about going to a psychic who actually will tell you what is going on with you and tell you what is your true pain and is causing your situation, and what might actually, be I wouldn't say a solution, because I don't necessarily give advice, because that would tie me up karmically with someone, because everybody has free will. But I can point out certain things going on with you, and you can make your own decisions. But it would be remiss of me not to point out the negative things that you are doing, because that is what's going on.
Well, let me make a comment about that, because one of the things people come to you for, if they're looking for psychic help, they've got a problem that they want to solve, and they think you can help them with that. So they've already got a problem that they're thinking about.
Right.
But if you're when you're putting out promotional material, you can talk about, as a psychic, you can talk about, somebody's worried about what their future is going to be, for example, or somebody wants to know, right. I don't know what people come to you for.
I talk about, do you need clarity in a situation? Do you feel stuck financially?
Well, see, those are pain points that you're addressing.
Those are pain points.
So, and what you can do is you can give more information about those pain points. In other words, if it's this, are you finding these things, and do you want a solution for that? If you do, call me and I can help you with it. And this is how I help people.
Right.
Right.
But I think what's going on is people are misunderstanding that you're never going to find get true help, because you will get true help. I think what you're just going through at the beginning is how to point out to the customer initially some things that are going on, because they may be blind to really what their situation is. It's like they can't see the forest for the trees.
Right, and that's typically how most people are. They don't have a well-defined what the problem is. So that's why you've got to agitate what the problem is. So
exactly. So
that they feel the pain and they want to take the pain away, and
action. So they actually might take some action, or they don't have to. But you've done your job, so they can actually see.
Well, that has to do with anything that you're selling, though.
Right.
I mean, people buy things to resolve problems, so they have to understand they have a problem, and so basically you have to let people know that they have a problem, and they can identify with the problem, and then you've got a solution, and here's how your solution solves that problem. That's how you sell something. So.
Right. Right. So yes, I think that's just what the question is. Like, do you just go out and be a Pollyanna? You can't just go out and be a Pollyanna, or that doesn't do.
Well, no, this is. Typically you're producing content.
Right.
This is a content thing. So this is stuff that you're talking about. This is content that you're putting out on your blog post, or wherever you put out content, on Google Plus, on Facebook, wherever you put out your content.
Right.
So, but that's one of the things that you want to talk about. So that's one of the things that you want to address. So you want to know who your client is. What does keep them up at night.
Right.
What a lot of people sell an awful lot of stuff. Throwing. You have a common enemy. Get everybody together to work for. And you can sell a lot of stuff doing that kind of stuff.
Right.
So you got to think through each of these questions as it relates to your particular business.
Right.
But those are the questions that you want to ask. And you write down the answers to them, and that way that you can point your content that's going to speak to your customer.
Exactly.
And your customer should have a name, they should have an age, they should have a marital status, number of kids, and income, what they like to read, what they like to listen to, what their activities are. If you know all that stuff, then you can produce content that speaks to them and speak their language.
Absolutely.
And then you've got people that will be coming to you, and you can help them. You know, if that's the business that you're in. But that's how. Those are the 10 questions that are bare bones on what you need to ask yourself as it relates to your market, and how to get content out there to them that will be meaningful for them.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? And I'm just trying to get some feedback from Rain if that kind of makes sense to her.
I finally got a comment from her.
Okay.
Well, first we got this comment from Roxanne Davenport. And
open wounds that show them the cure. I love that.
And then this is the one from Rain.
I didn't see it. I'm sorry. I put it back up there.
It should be up there.
There we go. Yeah, let's see. It does overdone and sleazy somehow. Not in the way you're communicating at times, just the overall aspect of it. Okay, well, I mean, I understand, but I mean, that is you're wanting to help your customer, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. So in order to help your customer, you have to understand what their pain points are and what their lives are like. And then you've got solutions to help make their life better. So, but they have to understand that they have a problem and that your solution will speak to that problem and solve that problem for them. So it's a communications and an understanding kind of thing. So that's what you're trying to accomplish by asking these questions, because if you'll think through these questions, you will understand your customer better and you'll be able to communicate with them better. So I hope that makes some sense for you. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I think it was just the communication piece.
How do you mean?
Like Rain was saying, it was just the communication piece. When it was men communicate different than women. Men just do. You and Dustin understood, but Rain is a woman, and men and women just communicate different. We just do.
Well, everybody knows men and women communicate differently.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I was trying to say.
Stuart Gray made a ton of money on men are from.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say. It was just the communication piece.
Okay, but
men are logical, women are emotional.
Excuse me?
And there's nothing wrong with being emotional.
But here's the thing about it, though. People buy on emotion. They don't buy on logic. People buy on emotion, and they back it up based on logic.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can kind of see what Rain is saying in the fact that, to me, it feels wrong to go up to somebody and rub salt in the wound, as you put it. I mean, that just feels so bad. I would hate to do that.
It's not your first part of the conversation. You milk it out a little bit, and then you can see,
Well, this is stuff in your content. You're talking about situations, and what that does, that attracts people with that problem. Does that make sense? I mean, you don't walk up to somebody and say, but I mean, you can. There's ways that you can phrase things that you can, like, everybody knows that if you get a college education, all that does is sentence you to 45 years of hard labor. I mean, right? So, I mean, there's all kinds of ways that you can put that's rubbing a wound. There's all kinds of ways that you can do things like that make sense, though. And we're going to talk about a little bit of that next, some ways that you can talk to people and that will make sense to them. Because everybody, depending on their we're going to talk a little bit about colors, and we're going to hit on it very, very briefly. But you have people that are more outgoing than others, and you have people that are more introverted than others. And your we'll talk about it here. I get a little bit more into it, but let's talk about that for a minute because that might make sense to you too. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, so I mean an easy way to think about people and our colors and colors. Okay, and different people have the different colors. The colors broken out a little bit differently, but for this illustration, this is what I'm using, and this is a very overhyped kind of thing. But yellow personalities, when you think about yellow personalities, you want to think about help. They're nurses, they're people in the helping professions, and that kind of thing. They always want to help. Okay, blues are party animals, you know. and
where did this come from? Where did this color spectrum come from?
It's colors. I mean, look it up. I mean,
I know this. I see things in colors, so I want to know where this one came from. So okay, this is a Big Al book that I read. Okay, but I mean, if you look on in all kinds of marketing, people break down personalities by different things, and this is an easy way to break things down. And the basic information that you want to know here is that everybody has their own language, and introverts talk about things differently than extroverts do. Right. Okay, and you can. Everybody has a little bit of all these personalities in them, but they're more dominant, you know, and you can pretty much tell who's who. But you can't always, you know, you might get it right 50% of the time. But when you're talking to people, one of the things that you want to think about is how they communicate with the world, because if you can communicate with them in words that they understand, it makes it a lot easier to gain rapport, bless you, and to you know, to persuade them, to help them, to sell that solves a problem for them. Right. So and these are just I didn't have time to go into a whole lot of this stuff, but the yellow personality is a helpful personality. So they always like to help things. So the way that you talk to them is you don't talk to them like, oh, you'll make so much money, or oh, we'll all go on vacation for, you know. you talk to them about this, you know, the yellows, all the profits will be donated to orphan kittens. That's what speaks to them. All right. Okay, and blues system.
Yeah, and blues are, we're having a party, but just for people who bring a guest, and you can be sure that they'll bring a guest. And for the reds, they're the top producers, and you just to attract them, you just list all the top producers. That's how you motivate them. And greens are real analytical. They're engineers and stuff like that, and they basically, you know, they have to analyze everything. So they go at their own pace. So your outgoing people are your blues and your reds, and your quieter people are your yellows or your greens. Okay. So, but if you're thinking about personalities, the yellow, if you just think help, you know, they do, and that's who they are. And the blue are the party people, and the red are the money people, and the greens are the information people. Okay. And but one of the things that you can do that'll help give you more information, there's 3 questions that you can ask that will tie that down better for you. And then if you take the words that make sense to them, it's like speaking English to somebody that speaks Chinese. I mean, that's how different these personality types are. So if you know who they are and you use language that speaks to them, that they understand, you will be able to motivate them, persuade them, they'll buy from you. Okay, so that's how you use this. And this is I mean, this is not in detail at all. This is just to give you a little bit of information, and you can get additional information if you want. I'll put some links and stuff in there, but but this is really good stuff.
This is good stuff. Okay.
Yep.
I like Rain's comment on this.
Did she make another one?
I like Rain's comments. Okay. It's more a matter of showing how well you understand them and you solve a problem for them.
Say it again. I can't hear you.
I love Rain. The rub salt in the wound is because Tom is just that's just his way of speaking, and that's just a communication thing. He doesn't actually like to rub salt in anybody's wound. I promise.
But here's
this communication between.
But I mean that we're going back. That was 10 minutes ago, so we're not even on that thing now. So did she make another comment, or is that I can't see the screen right now? I'm on this.
Yeah, she made that comment about 4 or 5 minutes ago.
That's funny. I love Rain. She's
great.
She's a sweetheart. I want her on this show. I love her. I want her on this show. She's great.
But am I making sense? Do you all ask questions, or do you understand what I'm talking about when I'm talking about colors and I mean it's a language issue. And three of the things that you can ask people that will help bring out what they are is you ask them what they do for a living, because different blues are in the entertainment industry, and I mean they do things that are fun and like that, and yellows are in the help industry, and red are your in business and that type of thing, and greens are your engineers and information kind of people. But there's and I'll give you a link if you want to go take a look at this. But the three questions that you can ask that brings out more information to that are, what do you do for a living? What do you do in your free time? And what do you like most about your job or hobby? Because, for example, say that here's an example. Say that you've got somebody that works as a nurse, for example, okay, and she's a great nurse. She loves helping people. She does a fantastic job, and she gets promoted. So now she's over all the nurses, but now she has to fire people. Okay, and she's got to make hiring decisions and firing decisions and things like that. So she's gone from loving her job to not liking her job because she's gotten a different. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I mean that's the kind of things that we're talking about. And what you can find out about, the way that you can find out about that is find out more about the kind of occupations that the people have, what kind of language they speak. Because it's like we're having here. We've got different languages.
I think this is a microcosm of the macrocosm.
Exactly. But
absolutely.
Absolutely.
And, so really, what I hear is that it's really about knowing yourself, knowing how you can help, and then really understanding your customer, and then showing them by exposing what is going on in their world, and doing so in a way that allows them to see what their problems are, and then giving them, offering to help, and if they want you to solve their problem, they will end up buying from you.
Right. But you could go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it also points to another reason why engagement in social media is so important, because how can you engaging in social media, if we're talking about online content, is the way to determine answer all these questions.
Well, and you want to hit in order to attract different customers, because all these people are I mean, they all have wonderful, they're people, and people have wonderful characteristics and attributes. And you can't do anything without people. I mean, so the more people, the better. The more customers, the better. So the trick to do is to understand the language that your customers speak and speak to them in their language. Okay? So, when you're producing content, you want to produce content in each of the different languages so that you'll get more customers.
Can I speak?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you a question though. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe I have a real world example of this.
Sure.
I have spent a lot of time studying what I do in honing my skills. I know that what I provide is valuable and I can help a lot of people.
Right.
But if I were to go out and try to explain to everyone and my basic customer what I do, using the knowledge and the words that I use on a daily basis, they wouldn't understand. It's not in their vernacular.
Right. Your profession has its own terminology.
It has its own terminology.
Right.
And so for me to put out an ad using the vernacular that I use, no one would understand it.
Your customers wouldn't, because the only people you'd be speaking to are people in your same profession.
Exactly.
So, yeah, perfect example.
Yeah, and so I need to understand what my customer and how they speak, how they hear things, so I can speak to them and let them know that I can help them. And go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, if you'll take those 10 questions, though, and think about them as you think about your customers, that will help you communicate with them better. Okay?
Right.
And then if you can determine, if you can put information out that covers the language of the reds, the greens, the yellows, and the blues, you're going to hit a much wider population than if you just speak to who you are. And I was looking for the percentages, and there's the reds, I think, are like 15% of the population. The greens are the blues or the yellows are like 30 or 35% of the population. I mean, so if you want to, you can target people based on how they talk about stuff, because this is internal language that people use, and this is language that makes sense to them. And that's like if you're a yellow and I'm a blue, and I come to you, Catherine, and say, "Oh, we're going to have a party. It's going to be so much fun. And you're a yellow, and you're going, well, hell, I got my cat to take care of, and I got this going on, and I got, I mean, that's not something that speaks to you.
Right.
But if you're a yellow and I come to you and say, hey, Catherine, I need your help, what we're going to do is we're going to be going over here and we're going to be raising money to do this, and all the money's going to go for to help adopted kittens.
Right.
Boom! You're in. And if you're a red, I can say, hey, we got this thing going on here, and all the top producers are going to be there, and you'll fit right in, and you can run everything, and you'll make a ton of money.
Right.
Boom, they're in.
Right.
And it's, I mean, and the greens are like, well, I need somebody to do all the promotional material and take everything and break it all down so that everybody can understand it. So will you do that for us? And
right.
and they'll do that. I mean, but that's the kind of thing I'm trying to get to, that you need to speak in their language. And then I'm going to give you some wording in this next little section about how you can talk to people that will slip stuff in and they'll hear you. Okay?
Right.
So that's what's coming up next. So hang on for just a second.
Sounds good.
But and this is how you can gain rapport with people. Okay, and these are some words that you can actually use. But one of the things that you can do is tell your prospect a fact that you both can agree on. Okay, and pace your prospect, match them how fast they talk, how slow they talk, how they do things. Basically, you want to mirror and pace with them. And another thing you can do is tell them two facts that you can both agree on. And of course, it always helps when you smile. And then here's some phrases that you can use. And if you'll start using them, you'll start seeing people do this. But it's most people, as in most people know that most people know that two incomes are better than one. Okay, everybody knows that it's hard to diet and keep the weight off. Everybody says that, pick something. But I mean, it's most people. Everybody knows. Everybody says, well, you know how.
I'll start next week.
And, well, there's an old saying. There's an old saying that you get around to it sooner or later.
You attract more flies with sugar than you do with vinegar or something.
Well, everybody knows you attract more flies with sugar than you do with vinegar. So I mean, and most people. But these are phrases, and if you'll start statements with these phrases and say something that makes sense, you'll be amazed. People will be doing this. Okay, so most people, everybody knows, everybody says, well, you know how. Well, there's an old saying. What would you like to know first? I mean, that's an easy thing you can ask people. What would you like to know first? And they'll tell you. Offer people sincere compliments, and when you're making minor compliments to people, like like Arizona Lowe, I love that. I love the red background that you have. How did you do that? You ask them, you make a compliment, and then you ask them a question. That way they don't have to go, thanks for the compliment.
And feel awkward.
Yeah, exactly. And you just listen to people and let them talk. Ask them a question, let them talk. So, I mean, there's a lot of, I didn't have time to go through, but if you'll think about these things, there's 50 million ways that you can take this and come up with information and come up with questions or statements that make sense to what you're marketing. Okay? And when people ask you something or have a question or anything like that, you just ask them, how do you mean? That's a great question. And people will respond to that. That's one of the better questions out there. When somebody says something, just ask them, how do you mean? And they'll keep talking about it.
And I think the biggest point here that is that in truth, in real truth, is that the response is what in the listening piece is the most important part. Once you've done this, hear what they say to you, and then implement it, because that you do want to know what they say, and that's part of it, because that really does build the rapport, especially if you are not looking for just a one and done type of sale. If you want repeat business,
well, exactly. What you're trying to do is you want people to opt into your email autoresponder, and you want to communicate with them and build a relationship with them. And the way that you do that is communicating with them. Mm-hmm. And if they know, like, and trust you, they're going to buy tons of stuff from you over time, and they're worth a lot more as a customer. So, exactly.
So yeah, so that's that is. And then then your reputation, then that builds your reputation. So I'm all about long-term building a reputation and being here for the long term as opposed to just a one and done. But I guess some people could just use it for a one and done type thing, but it depends on what you want.
Well, you leave a lot of money on the table if you do that.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's all about understanding your customer and communicating with them in a language that they use so that they can understand.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm giving you here, if you'll take that and play with some of that, that will help you in that endeavor.
Mm-hmm. And if you're smart enough to be able to do that, and then you're smart enough to be able to hear them and build a long-term relationship. So,
which brings it all back to engagement.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to be engaged.
There you go. Any questions? Does that make sense? Or
absolutely. I can.
If you'll practice with those, most people and everybody says, and that kind of stuff, and how do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just throw those out there to people and see what kind of responses you get.
Well, I think these are really good because a lot of times people don't necessarily have the automatic social skills, and these are social skills that you're talking about, and it takes a lot to be to have these social skills that you're talking about. Some people have them, and those are top salespeople, and that's just a really small percentage of people that naturally come by these skills.
These are skills. These are not natural things. These are things that you learn and you implement.
Exactly.
It's a skill. Any kind of skill. It's like learning how to walk is a skill.
Exactly. It's a skill, and so yeah, these are yeah.
So, but if you'll take these things and work them into your presentations, and you'll be amazed at what happens. All I'm saying is try it. I think you'll like it. Most people know that if you want to acquire a skill, you have to figure out what it is, and then you have to use it daily over time, and then you kind of test it and tweak it, But that's how it works. So these, and I'll give you a link to all this stuff, and I got to grab a couple of them too, but and you can go into more detail. You can find out more about them too. There's two. Anyway, there's these come from basically 3 different books, and they're all by people that are very, very prominent. And these things work. I mean, they just flat out work. They're some of the best stuff that I've come across. And the more that you implement them into your presentations and the stuff that you're doing, I think that you'll find that everybody's going to tell you that your presentations are a lot better. So anyway, that's got it for me, and we're running about to the end of time too. So
these were awesome. Thank you, Tom.
Well, you're welcome. Oh Lord! Any questions or any last comments about anything anybody wants to make, or going once, going twice? Arizona. I hope everybody had a good time.
Thanks for running the comments. Were you running the comments, Arizona?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really good. Thank you. She always does good at that stuff.
Thank you.
Dustin, you got anything you want to comment on or anything you want to say?
Nothing special.
All right, buddy. Well,
thanks, Dustin.
that's got it then, and we'll say good night and see you next Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern time. So everybody have just Happy New Year. Have a wonderful New Year, and we hope to see you next Tuesday. And bring your questions, and we'll have a rocking good time, and hopefully we'll make you some money. So take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.